I wanted to take a look and do like a week 1 recap of what's been going on the ladder. Okay. So obviously we have some class changes coming. If you're interested in the class changes, I made a YouTube video about it. But if we go to Drustvar, my favorite website, and we go to stats, we go to Dragonflight ladder stats. I'm curious to see what has been queuing and what has been doing well. So I'm going to look at the top 500, okay? We're going to put the search down a little bit and we're going to see what's doing well in that top 500, okay? So this is US 3v3. What's been playing in the last 7 days, all right? Which is the first week of the season. We could actually just do all, to be honest with you, but we'll do the last 6 days and what's been doing well. So you can see here on the left-hand side right now, Destruction Warlock is very fodum. A lot of people are playing the Destruction Warlock. Take a look just quickly at the graph. On the right side, we see Marksman Hunter, Arcane Mage, Holy Priest, Affliction Warlock. On the left-hand side, we see Destruction, Discipline, Shadow Priest, Mistweaver Monk. But we can take a look at the exact numbers here, okay? So in North America in threes, near the top of the ladder, the top 500, the specs that are struggling the most right now are Assassination, Frost Decay, Unholy Death Knight, Fury Warrior, Windwalker, Demon Hunter. Now, what's interesting about these numbers is I actually do think some of these specs are good. You know, maybe Frost Death Knights aren't as good because of the Wizard meta. Like, I feel like Frost Death Knights have a really good place, especially that Frost Death Knight Evoker comp when it's a lot of double melee, because you just destroy like things like Ret Warrior and stuff. But yeah, you just don't really have that many comps. Right now, the most versatile melee appears to be Arms Warrior, Enhancement Shaman, Feral Sub, Survival Ret, and then down from there. But I do think some of these specs are pretty good. I think Fury Warrior is going to see kind of a rise to power soon. For range DPS, obviously there's one spec that's King, Destro, and then you have a lot of other specs that are kind of like, well, you have Shadow Priest in second, then Boomkin, then Ellie, and I think these 3 specs are all really, really solid. Demo's obviously solid too. I don't think Fire Mage is bad. And then on kind of like the weaker side of things, it looks like we have Marks, Arcane, Affliction, Frost. But not necessarily about how weak they are. Maybe they're just not that popular. For healers in North America, Holy Priests just seem like they're absolute garbanzo beans. We have Holy Paladin also really, really underrepresented. And then at the top, it's all about the Disc, the Mistweaver monks. And a lot of these monks are playing casted now. It's not that Fistweaver spec. Resto Shaman, and then Prez and Resto. But the thing is, like, Resto Druid and Prez Evoker, I think, are also really, really good. Races, the most popular is the Night Elf by far. 70% of players are playing Alliance. Night Elf Human, then Orc, Dark Iron Dwarf, Regular Dwarf. So out of the top 5 races for PvP, 4 of them are Alliance right now, according to this. We can see if there's any big differences in Europe. Let's see if this graph shifts at all. What happens? What's moving? What's moving and grooving? More Discipline Priests. So even more Discipline Priests. And in terms of melee, you actually have oh my god, Enhancement Shaman is by far the highest. I think a lot of people right now are playing Enhanced Sub-Rogue and Enhanced Warrior. That's crazy. Enhanced got a huge rise of power. That's great. Like, I'm surprised to see it, but the #1 melee right now. Enhanced, Sub-Rogue, Arms Warrior, Feral, Asa. And then on the lower side of things, you still have the Outlaw, the DK specs. Ret Paladin is kind of underrepresented right now. And then ranged. I think a big part of the reason why Rets are struggling right now is not only that they get nerfed, but I also think that Destro is one of their hardest counters. I think Warlocks are really good into Ret, but I think Destro specifically is just shits on Ret Paladins, to be honest. So it's very unfortunate for them. But you can see right now, Destro Warlock has twice the representation of the second highest, which is Moonkin. 35% of range specs above or in the top 500 are Destro Warlocks. That's more than Arcane, BM, Devastation Evoker, Frost, Marks, Affliction, Fire, and Demo combined. Maybe even more. We do some quick math. Let's just round up. So this is 2, 4. We'll round up again 7. Round up again 10. Round up again 14. Round up again 19. round up again. 25, round up again. Dude, that's insane, man. There's more Destro Warlocks than these specs combined. And then I think Shadow Priest and Boomkin's obviously doing pretty well. And then for healers, it's going to be about that Disc Priest once again. The casted healer, the casted Mistweaver, Resto Shaman, Druids and Preservation Evokers. And then it's the same thing. Paladins and Holy Priests are down at the bottom. Racials, let's see if it's about even. There's actually more Undead for some reason. More Horde Priests, I guess. A lot of Horde Priests play Undead, so more Horde Priests would be the biggest thing. But yeah. One thing about this season, one thing about WoW in general, and it's an interesting topic of conversation. I might make like a whole dedicated video to this later, but like just the ability to re-roll and play like the specs that are the most OP is the easiest it's ever been. And some people say it's bad. I personally don't think it's a bad thing. I like it when you can just play whatever you want. And I'm actually kind of happy right now because I've been having the most fun with Arcane, even though Arcane is the shittiest. Like, according to this, like it's the least represented. Nobody's playing Arcane. It's actually been my favorite spec to play. So I'm just going to keep playing my stupid little gnome Arcane mage and having fun with it. Luckily in NA, we have like a few Arcane mages. I think it's slightly more represented than in Europe because in NA, we have a few Arcane mages that just won't ever spec anything else, no matter what. They're dedicated. They're dedicated to the craft. But yeah, really, really interesting. And that's kind of what's been going on the first week. As you can see, Destro is really, really crazy. It's getting some nerfs, but I think it's still going to be absolutely crazy. So I expect it to be very strong. Very, very strong. I also want to take a look at the solo shuffle stats right now, okay? So I don't think there's anyone above 2,400. Yeah, there's no 2,400. So 2,100 in solo shuffle is actually really, really, really high right now. Like if you're 2,100, that's like top echelon. All right, so let's see. Jesus, man. Okay, so as you can see, Destruction Warlocks in NA doing extremely well. Best healer so far seems to be Mistweaver Monk. You have Balanced Druids, Demo Warlock, Shadow Priest, Arms Warriors, Enhancement Shamans, and then Disc Priest. So there's over double the amount of Mistweavers over Disc Priests. There's one Holy Priest. Preservation Evokers are struggling. Holy Paladins are struggling. Resto Druids, Resto Shamans are doing okay, but Disc and Mistweaver is just by far the best. I think a big part of why Mistweaver is so strong is not only their new like spheres, but their healing is just really strong. They have really, really good healing and they have good mana and longevity. So they're kind of just outlasting most healers. And then you have Arms Warrior, you have Enhancement Shaman, you have Windwalker Monk, Rep Paladins for melee. The most underrepresented melee, let's do bottom 5, is Outlaw Rogue, DK, Rogue. So Rogues and DK seem to be struggling in Shuffle. Also, the Warlocks are immortal, so games naturally go to damp and Mistweavers thrive. Yep, that's true. Warlocks are immortal, and most games have a Warlock. So you can see how many Destro Warlocks are above 2,100. This is like Rep Pally status. This is like pre-nerfed Rep Pally status for Destro Warlocks. At the very bottom, you have Frost Mage, Marks, Fire Mage, Affliction Warlock, and Arcane Mage. And then, of course, you have your Devastation Evoker. Boomkins seem to be doing well. Shadow Priests are doing well. Ellies are doing well. Demo Warlocks are doing well. And it's kind of like, it's World of Wizardcraft right now, guys. I do think there's melees that are strong, like Enhancement and Warrior and Windwalker and Red, and Red's okay, and Havoc, but it really is. It's all about the wizards. It's just about maximum damage, pair well with the Destruction Warlock, and you're going to be doing really well. I'm curious if Europe looks any different. So take a look at Europe. For casters, Demo or Destro, sorry, is really high up there. Enhancement Shamans doing extremely well. Warriors, Windwalkers, Sub-Rogues in Europe. Dude, what is with NA? I think just none of the NA rogues play because it seems like Sub is doing really well in Europe. DKs are just doing shit. Like, I'm sorry to laugh, but yeah. DKs need help. They need help, guys. I don't know what they need, but they need some help for sure. And then in NA, in Europe, there's no Arcane Mages, so that's a big difference. Like, in Europe, there's way more Frost Mages and no Arcane Mages. In Europe, there's also way more Rogues. Healer representation seems to be pretty similar, though. I think in general, NA just has way more Shamans. There's a lot of like content creator shamans that just probably spam Q solo shuffle, and they're probably responsible for most of the shamans in solo shuffle. But yeah, Mistweavers are really thriving. Mistweavers are just a good damp healer, man. My conclusions, here are the conclusions. If you look at 3v3 and solo shuffle, Enhance is doing really well. Arms is doing really well. You have a bunch of the wizards doing well. Like, look at all these specs. Shadow Priests are owning, Boomkins are owning, Ellie's are owning, Demo's owning, Destro's owning. Devastation. I think a huge part of the reason why Devastation is kind of shit is in these wizard lobbies, you just don't have the range. Like, Devastation actually does it does a devastating amount of damage. But the main problem with it is you don't have range. So when everyone's just playing max range, shooting spells at each other, you're just behind, you know? You have to take like the aggressive positioning, which automatically puts you at a bit of a disadvantage. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this? What are your guys' thoughts on threes? What are your guys' thoughts on solo shuffle so far? Are you guys liking this meta or no?